What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Pro. Wait, that's not it. Welcome back to the IMNerd Podcast, guys. I'm your host, Fraser Smith, and I'm here with my co-host, Kenny Delgado. And normally, I would say we have a special guest, but today is a bit different because we have one of the GOATs on the show. We have the first and only two-time winner of the Yugioh National Championship. When we talk about this legendary duelist, we have to make sure to note that he is unlike anyone else. He's on a different level. Some might say he's just the king of TG. But he came back to show us that he's also a god of Sword Soul Tengi. You see, every few decades, a star is born. Words will never do this duelist justice because he's gone where no one has before, and we are happy to have him grace us with his presence today. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Hansel Aguero. Hansel, how are you feeling, my guy?
I'm good. Everything's good. Thank God. How are you guys feeling?
I'm feeling great. I watched the top 32 or 16 or whatever it was of nationals. Was almost 2 weeks ago now, and I was fucking blown away because I don't know, man. Seeing you go from winning in 2011 when you were basically a kid, and then coming back 11 years later on the same day, July 17th, and winning again is like a fairy tale fucking ending to a great journey. Really excited. I've always been somebody who's rooted for you because I feel like you're one of the people your first top you won, right?
Yeah.
So we're in that same category of people who I feel like we come in with a chip on our shoulders because when you win on your first top, people look at you like, oh, you just got lucky, or, you know, like people don't really respect or like you at first when you top and win immediately. That's just like a thing, right? Like Yu-Gi-Oh players always feel like somebody else in the top cut who had way more awards or whatever than you deserved it more, even though like at the end of the day, if you bust people's ass, it doesn't matter. Like I won and you got to give me my flowers. That's how I always carried it. So we come in with like a little chip on our shoulders and we always feel like we have something to prove. But I think this second win for you, also it being nationals, you being the first person in Yu-Gi-Oh history to do this is amazing.
Thank you. Yeah. I agree though. I feel they try to discredit people who if their first top is their first win.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but at the end of the day, I feel like people are gonna talk just to talk.
Yeah, no matter what though, you know how it is. And anything that you're good at, right? People, you're gonna have your haters, and then you're gonna have the people who love and respect you. And honestly, we don't give a fuck about the haters around here. So we've been dealing with that nonsense for years. But I'm
still recovering. I'm sorry. Why'd Fraser start this podcast just barring people down? Like he just started the podcast rapping. Like at first he was talking, and then I was like, wait a minute, he's rapping. I was like, what happened?
Listen,
I just got barred down.
I wanted to make sure I started this podcast off really special because again, like when we've had Patrick Hoban on the show, we've had Tyree Tinsley, we've had a lot of high profile players, people who have won multiple times, some other GOATs, right? And I just think that is so cool that this is such a unique perspective, right? Like no one has won nationals twice. We've had people who've done all types of shit, topped a bunch of events and all that, but we've never seen a player win. Nationals is so hard. It's once a year.
That's it. It's not only impressive, but it's, I guess, just surprising because with how long Yu-Gi-Oh's been around, now granted, you know, it's not ancient, but I kind of just assumed, like when Fraser told me you were the first person to win nationals twice, I was impressed, but also legitimately surprised because I would have just assumed that like somebody did it before.
Yeah, no,
just
it's once a year. It's really hard too. When you think about it, the odds of doing it are so low.
For sure.
The odds of doing it once, honestly, bro, I can even go as far as say the odds of just top fouring nationals to get to worlds is hard enough. Like that is hard. And some of the best players who've ever played Yu-Gi-Oh have never even done it. So to win it once is already like the craziest shit, but to win it twice is just unheard of. Like again, I can't express enough. So let's just start here, Hansel. Let's start with when did you even start playing Yu-Gi-Oh? Like how old were you? How did you get into the game?
So I actually been playing Yu-Gi-Oh like I'm ancient. So
we all are now.
I played Yu-Gi-Oh like GOAT format. You know.
Oh shit, that's real far. Babe, you were a legit child then, though, right?
Yeah. So like, luckily, the New York City crowd was like, you know, like Team Overdose and all that. But being from the Bronx, I mean, that was not like they were like more Brooklyn. That was a Brooklyn crowd. So it's like, unfortunately, we didn't really have that many locals over here. So we had to go to what was the locals back then? I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but Neutral Grounds, that's what it was called.
Okay, I've heard of that before.
Yeah, and that's kind of I remember being like 10 years old, and I doubt anybody even remembers his name. Fuck, I can't even remember his name. He just won a jump literally right after, and we go to a regional, and I'm playing like tomato control, and like I beat him, and he didn't understand how like this 10-year-old, because I was just absorbing all this fucking knowledge from
Yeah.
like all these like great players. Like I was looking up to Phil Luna when I was like fucking 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
so you grew up kind of around, because New York is a tough crowd. Like New York has, and in my older years, I've grown to love and respect New York so much because of how difficult everything is. Like you guys pay way too much in rent. If you survive in New York, you can make it anywhere. That line is very true. I feel like that shit translates into competition as well, because New York is a place that's known for great food, fashion, like the way the people are. It's just like it's a certain way you have to carry yourself to just survive in New York. And with Yu-Gi-Oh, you guys have a lot of two-time champions. So you have Shane Scurry, you have Stephen Harris, like Paul Leviton. There's a ton of people who come from New York who put Yu-Gi-Oh on the map and made it that really big prestigious game back in the day, like the 05, 06 era that you're talking about. And you were around these people when you were a kid, which obviously that rubs off on the greatness rubs off onto you. Like you're beating people who are Shonen Jump champions at a very young, at 10 years old. Like that's insane.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly couldn't believe it. But I have to give credit where credit is due. Like I have older brothers that kind of put me on game.
Yeah.
They unfortunately don't play the game anymore, but I mean they actually flew to the Nats last week or whatever.
Okay.
They just because I had what I mean I had a feeling like I was just
so let's talk about that. Leading up to this event, you've been sending me screenshots. I've seen other people post screenshots of you knowing that you were going to win nationals again, and I want to know what the fuck happened where you knew. What premonition did you have that told you like, yeah, I'm gonna win this shit again, and this is the year?
So it's funny because like that being said, like I'm just gonna transition from the last. So like I unfortunately quit Yu-Gi-Oh quite often. Like I take big breaks.
Yeah.
So like it was, Tomato Control, big break. After Perfect Circle, I didn't play Perfect Circle. Big break. Then I started playing 2011. Actually, the same year I won. That's the first year. I picked up. I learned pretty fast. So I pick up. I did my thing. Then I like take breaks in and out. I felt very comfortable in 2011. I actually played plants and all that. So like, but I felt like TG's was just a stronger option.
How did you, to this day, we never really talked about this, me and you. I'm sure you talked about it with other people, but you won with TG, and that deck was a sleeper in 2011. I was playing, I believe I topped nationals with Agents that year, and I was third topped with like plants, and there was a bunch of other people. There was like Hero beating the top. Joe Bogley played plants, I believe. That might be the year with Sam Pedigo too. I forget. But that year was crazy. But you ended up winning with a deck that I literally didn't even test with, against, or anything in 2011. Like if I played you, I would not have known what your cards did, to be honest. That's how to me it seems so random. Mind you, I'm the guy who won with like a deck that is also no one fucking prepared for. No one knew what the hell it was. And so to see you do the same thing, that's why when I was younger, I was like, man, I really relate to this kid because it's his first top, his first win immediately. And it's with a deck that no one, I feel like people just slept on. The only person who said they knew about it was Jeff Jones. I remember he blatantly said like, I knew about TG. I forget if he played it or not, but I believe Jeff because he's one of those people. But like, how did you even know to play TG? Like what made you pick that up and know this can be plants and X-Sabers and all the other decks, Agents?
So what ended up happening there, I actually played TGs. I was on and off between plants or TGs. I kept playing plants for fun. But I felt like there had to be something better. So I dissected the meta, which I typically do when I get back into the game and I feel comfortable. That being said, like during that time, MST was at 2. Giant Trinity is at 1. but skill drain and oppression is out.
Yeah.
Like these cards that like are flat out blowouts.
Yeah.
And then I ended up reading the TG cards, and they're a bunch of floaters, right? So I'm like, okay, and then Tengu is out, right?
Yeah,
Then
Reborn Tengu, that card is out of control.
But the way plants were using it was cool. It's like they're build a board kind of thing. They were just kind of like throwing it out there and like synchroing and making a big board or
right.
whatnot.
Lone Fire Tengu vibes, that whole thing.
Yeah, but that was cool. But like so my brother ended up reading Horn of the Phantom Beast.
That's the card.
Yeah. So he read that in the OCG. But the thing is that the thing was that the OCG didn't have Reborn Tengu, right?
Right.
And Horn of the Phantom Beast and Reborn Tengu is just a blowout.
So much because it gives the monster 800 attack.
Yeah.
And when they kill something in battle, you draw cards, right? So like.
Yeah. So it was kind of dumb. It's like just a bunch of floaters, that you have to deal with because they will either beat you down or just infinite advantage, like just plussing off of
off of Horn of Phantom Beast and just the nature of like if you use any cards to kill them, like if you Mirror Force or Torrential, those are just pluses for that deck. I have a funny story about Horn of Phantom Beast. A lot of people don't notice, but in 2012, a duelist by the name of Marquise Henderson won YCS Atlanta after me. And he's also a black duelist. Atlanta has that power. I think after him was Christian Georges in 2014. So it's like a series of just the blacks running through Atlanta. But Marquise Henderson was also a guy, first win with a deck at the time, because it was Rabbit format. No one thought TGs would be good. And he won the whole event. But he played against Alistair Albans, Alistair Constantine, people who know. He played against Alistair in top 32, I believe. And Alistair goes like, summon a Cabazals and attacks a TG Werewolf. He attacks G Werewolf with Cabazals. And Marquise Henderson has 3 back rows. So he goes, anything in Battle Step or anything, and Alistair's like, no. He's like, okay, because at the time Forbidden Lance was a card and all that stuff. So there's like plenty of cards you can play, Book of Moon, all that stuff. So they get to damage step, but Marquise Henderson obviously goes activate Horn of Phantom Beast, targeting my werewolf, and he becomes 2,000 attack. So Cabazals gets beat, and then Alistair puts his Cabazals in the grave, and the guy Marquise is like, hold on, puts the Cabazals back on the field. Is like, I'm going to activate another Horn of Phantom Beast. And Alistair, like, he gets like pissed. Like he sits back in his chair and he's like, okay, so he grabs his pen, he's about to write down the life points. And then Marquise is like, hold on, I want to activate a third Horn of the Phantom Beast. and he just flat out loses the game on the spot. Turn 1, immediately, like you attack into a werewolf. Your opponent flips 3 Horn of the Phantom Beast. And that story, so Alistair was obviously pissed about this when he was telling it, but when I heard it, I thought it was hilarious. I was like, holy shit. So if you have Forbidden Lance, he was just cooked. He was like, he was just fucking cooked. But apparently he doesn't play around Lance or anything. I was like, he knew you. I was like, he saw the bitch in your eyes. He just knew. Like he knew he had you. So every time I hear about Horn of the Phantom Beast, I think about that story of another person winning a tournament. That card must be crack. Like that card has to be one of the most slept upon cards back in 2011's period, because again, not many people played or respected it, but every time it's been played and it made top cut, it won every time.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny because I topped that event and the 2012
one.
And he pulls up to me and is like, "Yo, could you like sign my TG shit?" And at the time, I kind of felt embarrassed because I'm like, "Yo, dude, like." Nah, I don't want to just be known for TGs. Like it's like I could play other decks. I just don't. You know what I mean? Like I know, but exactly, he's a cool guy.
Yeah,
he's a great guy. I don't want to take anything away from him. It was just that's how I felt during that time.
So remember what I said at the beginning of this podcast is like we come in with a chip on our shoulder because we didn't want to be known as that guy with the one deck, right? Like that was never the goal. The goal wasn't to be, oh, you're just a TG guy. Oh, you're just a Gravekeeper guy, right? People come up to me and ask me to sign Gravekeeper cards and stuff. But I started to purposely play different decks and try to top with them because I didn't want to lock myself into this box of you're just that guy, right? Like I don't want anybody to think of me as only being good with one deck or you're only good in one format. That I think that's so important for a competitor, like especially like I'm really competitive in general, like in life. I'm just a competitive ass person. And so for me, like I just want to be, I don't want anybody to be able to lock me into a box. Period. Like just so I get exactly what you mean when you're like, yeah, you want me to sign this card and that's cool and all, but like that shit happened last year. You already had put, mind you, you're the national champion. You're like, I'm putting that behind me. Like you're like, I don't want to sign any TG card. I'm gonna do it, but I don't want to really sign any TG cards. It's like whatever. This is like this is that old shit. I want some new shit now.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. Beautifully said. Like, you know, I'm just, and it's not, I'm not, you know, I don't want to like offend anybody or anything like that. It's just the fact that like, you know, I'm always trying to better myself and
as you should. As you should. So, okay. So now fast forward to 2022. Now you said you've taken a lot of breaks. So before we get to 2022, I feel like you weren't really playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Too much leading up to nationals per se. Like I know immediately before nationals, I saw you at an SN regional and you were playing, but like 2017, 18, 19, 2020, I don't know if you were actually traveling and competing in Yu-Gi-Oh! Events.
So the thing was that I guess you can say I was traveling, but like it wasn't what you think. Like I wasn't actually playing the format. It was like I would just show up and be like, "Yo, so what's good? Like what's the deck to play?"
Right.
And like I would just go to chill with friends more than like actually competing. It's just like
you weren't putting in that crazy time and everything that it requires.
Yeah, and I've done that for a very long time where it was just like I wouldn't play at all, and I would just kind of show up, no cards, and just borrow a bunch of cards and and figure it out just for the weekend, you know. And
I've seen you do it. I've literally been at events where you're there, and I'm surprised because you're just like chilling, like literally you're just chilling. I'm like, what are you doing here? And you're like, I'm just here, like just chill with everybody, or whatever. And I'm like, okay, so I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, but going back to you asked the question earlier about. I'm sorry that I'm like kind of everywhere with it.
No, this is perfect.
No,
this is how we are.
But you asked how did I know that feeling about like like knowing that I'm gonna do well this event. So I can start, I guess. I went to a Gamers Choice regional in Edison actually. And I didn't have my invite because I obviously don't play. So I was like, yo, I honestly didn't even want to like go to the regional because I was tired. I like fell asleep like at 4 in the morning.
Oh no!
And to get to Edison, I was like, you know what, whatever. That's not like that's not important. But
what real quick, what month was this?
I think this was last. No, I don't even remember, bro. I can't even.
So
I think it was like June.
It's very recent though, right? So you didn't even have your invite going into nationals, and this was basically June, and nationals is like in the same, basically, coming right up. Okay,
yeah, I can't. Yeah, so to give you perspective on how much, like you know.
Yeah.
And I wasn't impressed about it because I was like, yo, I'll just get it in the LCQ. Like, I'll get my invite.
Yeah, the best players do that shit. They're like, whatever. Like, I'll just show up, I'll just get it, and it won't be a big deal. And it happens every time. I've seen so many good players just qualify the day before or the one regional before, like the last regional where you could qualify for it. Yeah. They'll just play in it, they'll get that shit, and then be like, all right, I got it. Like, that was a joke.
That's funny because that's exactly what I've been doing for like as I've missed a lot of nationals. I just didn't go.
Yeah.
But every nationals I've went to outside of like the one I won, I would just go the last regional and just top it, and then it is what it is.
Yeah.
But so this one, whatever, I feel comfortable with Sorso. I think it was a great contender. Everyone, I understood the meta. Like everyone was on this punk adventure deck or whatever, and I felt it was very linear. That or Scythe, like everyone had like a deck that scythes you or whatever. But realistically, I knew that no one had an answer to mine.
Which is crazy to me because that keeps doing well. It won a YCS before nationals.
Yeah, so it's like there's this card in the meta that people are just neglecting, and it's not anyone's fault except the people who are building these decks. Like it's like you decided what you entered with. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like no one made that choice for you, and if you know that your deck is weak to this card, then fix it, solve it. You know what I mean? Like my friend Dave says, just it's mine isn't a problem. Just play MST. It's like MST. It's a simple solve. Yeah, like but it's and then like you know what I mean. Like one of the basic cards of Yu-Gi-Oh handles it. You know?
One of the oldest.
Yeah. So but no. But that being said, it was a theory. I was like, people can't handle that. They can't handle rivalry like these floodgates, and Sorso could play it very aggressively and defensively, so, similar to Striker. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna play these instead of like hand traps as my 12 like defensive cards that Sorso can possibly play. So then I went to the regional. I went undefeated, but it was kind of like I didn't feel pressure in any game. Like the deck. The one thing I wanted to do was play faster. Like I wanted my opponent to play faster. I wanted my opponent to play faster. I wanted to play faster myself. So I was like, you know what? That's where I'm lacking. So I got on Dueling Book and started grinding. So that way I don't have to think as much.
Yeah, so I want to interject right there. I love that you said that, because we've had people on this podcast like Joe Dietrich, who won a remote duel YCS, and also just talking to like some of the other players who are currently some of the best players right now. They talk about how important it is to grind on DB, and I'm noticing that almost everyone who's been winning are considered people who grind on DB. Like the last 5 champions of this year are all people who be on DB and play, and not necessarily like to climb the ladder and be number 1 on DB, but just grinding in a sense of, I want to play faster. I want to know every interaction. I don't want to get to a tournament, sit down, and then some random shit comes up and you have no idea how to navigate it. And I think that we saw that with you when we were watching. First of all, your matches were fast as shit. I feel bad for Pascal Manigat. Yeah. You just demolished that man. Like, shout out to him for getting top 4. That is a crazy accomplishment. But it is just absurd. That match was so fucking fast. You bodied him, and mind you, so that was the first match I got to see you play the whole weekend. Was when you played him, and I thought it was gonna be like, this is gonna be a great game. They're gonna go back and forth and everything, and it just was like, sit down and let me take you to school. Like, no offense to him, like it was just, but it was really like, it reminded me of Tom Brady in the Super Bowl versus the Chiefs, and just like, let me take your child to work day. Like, you just absolutely quickly bodied it. And I was like, oh, he knows what he's doing. Like, a part of me was wondering, I was like, man, Hansel doesn't play as much as like the people who are currently taught. Like, you're not playing, like, these people are on DB 10 hours a day. They're doing Twitch streaming. They're playing Master Duel for 8 hours a day on Twitch. They're doing all their stuff. I'm like, I don't think he does any of that. So I was like genuinely surprised that you were that far already. And then when I watched you play, I was like, oh shit, he knows what he's doing, and he knows what he's doing like a lot. And it showed up in the finals. And this is probably, to me, this is when I knew you won. Now, mind you, this is all the way in the finals, but in the finals, game 1, you get Mystic Mind immediately.
Yeah.
And most players fold right there.
Yeah.
Like, most players, they're not going to scoop. Like, we saw the finals of the YCS that Mystic Mind won, the Asian guy won. I forget his name, but he won with Sky Striker. It's basically a Mystic Mind deck featuring Sky Striker cards. And in the finals, it literally was draw pass, draw pass, draw pass. And the writer even wrote it that way on purpose to show how, like, I guess boring it was or whatever. Most people fold right there. And they allow it to just, I don't have any outs. That's it. I lost, right? But when I watched you play, I was like, man, is he really going to lose game 1 like this? Like, people can't keep showing up to these tournaments. You get all the way to the finals of nationals. If you don't have an out to it, that's just crazy to me. But as you were sitting there and you seemed not disturbed, like, I could tell that there was something going on. So I was staring at the screen like, I wonder where this is going, because your opponent got a little cocky. He started drawing and just discarding his card almost without looking at it. Like, I saw him drop a Nibiru to the grave. I saw him drop some other hand traps to the grave. I think an Impermanence or something like that. Whatever he dropped to the grave, he started just kind of drawing, discarding, because he assumed, like, probably most of his opponents, he got second place, so he beat a lot of people. But he probably thought, this game is over and this guy's just not scooping. He's going through the motions. But then you set up this crazy ass play with Heavenly Dragon Circle, and you OTK'd this man in 1 turn. And as soon as you did that shit game 1 and won the game, I was like, oh, he won. That's my champion right there. Like, that is the champion. The second I saw you beat Mystic Mind, the card that every fucking player has been complaining about this entire format. Honestly, for the last 2 years this card has been being the most complained about card in the entire game.
I want to say to everything Fraser just said, and big credit to you. Since we started this podcast, we've had Yugioh guests, and as most people know, I'm not very up to date on a lot of current Yu-Gi-Oh. I am more now because of Master Duel, but even that is like a year behind. And it's a Japanese format. But since we've started the podcast, we've had multiple duelists on here talk about Mystic Mine and whether or not it being toxic or not. We have some people on here, I don't remember specifically who, but people say like you can see when Mystic Mine is on the board, the people that actually know how to play Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yes.
Like there's the fact that the way Yu-Gi-Oh is played right now is like a certain way, and then Mystic Mine, that one card shows up, and so many people just completely fumble the ball, and it starts to look like they don't know how to play Yu-Gi-Oh. And so it's like huge credit to you, because as you showed on the finals on stream, you know, like a card came up, and like you said even before Fraser did that whole description, your brother, or I forget if you said it was your brother or your friend, but you were like, there's like Mystic Mine's a card and it gets dealt with. Like, and you dealt with it.
It's crazy to me because, again, you had a main deck way to deal with it. And your opponent was smart, too. He did not put he did not put another card on the field for you to use the, Blackout?
Yeah.
The card that, like, can actually out it. It's basically Icarus Attack. So it's Icarus Attack, but you have to control 2 cards for them to activate it. They can't destroy their own card. So he played Mystic Mine and played nothing else, which is perfect. Like, he was doing exactly what he was supposed to do. That's what his deck was designed to do. And I just thought when I was sitting there, I watched you go. You went first, and like you made your board or whatever, and then he played mine, and he passed, and I was like, oh god, is this really going to be the way? Like this guy loses. But then after 10 or so turns, you finally I just felt like you were looking for something, and I love seeing that because what Kenny just said about how some people, when Mystic Mine gets activated, the old school Yu-Gi-Oh technical play just goes out the window. They don't know what they're doing. If they can't do their combo, like people study YouTube, and this is not to like downplay the skill level of current Yu-Gi-Oh players or anything like that, but I do feel like there is an entire class of people who they get their combos on YouTube. They know how to do these crazy elaborate combos, but if the game goes longer than 1 or 2 turns, they have no fucking idea how to navigate that situation. Like, what happens if your game doesn't end on turn 2? Like, do you know how to actually play the game past turn 2? Like, what do you do with your resources? And I watch people fumble the ball so much. Go ahead.
It's funny because so when someone looks at the deck list or like you know, looks at the list in general, they think that this list is like for going second or something, or like, but the thing is that realistically, I agree with you that people don't know what to do in these convoluted like game states, like these very strange, like once you put someone in a position where they haven't played in this awkward game state, they're just gonna they fuck up, and but that being said, I can just go back to like me playing faster and having my opponent play at a reasonable place. You know, when Mystic Mine's on the board and I have a Shisha with a set circle, like, you know, a circle being I forgot what samurai card is, like Tribute, Search a Worm, or Search a Samurai.
Mm-hmm.
But basically that's what circle does. It's like tribute, you tribute a worm and search a worm, right? What ends up happening is Shisha can negate 1 monster. Now you're under mine, and I tribute. Now because you have a monster, I negated it. I tribute my guy. Now I search a worm. Now I had control no monsters, so I used mine aggressively, and now they don't know what to do. Whether they want to commit to the board, they probably wouldn't because they're under mine, right? But I put people in these kind of game states where they're like, I force them to think, and and if they can't come up with something in that like 2-minute window, 3-minute, like, you know, but however much time that you have to make a play, you know, they might fuck up, and then that's all I need. All I need is a turn. Right? That's
you showed that, you proved that it only took you 1 turn and he died, and I was a little confused on the way, because you guys, like you said, you were playing kind of fast, and when it got to the point where Mystic Mine was on the field for a couple turns, did you end phase Heavenly Dragon Circle or something? Because it looked like it was your turn, and then you killed him. Like, he didn't get a chance to. So I noticed that when Mystic Mine left the field, Ryan didn't get a chance to try to set up defense. He was just left with nothing on the field, and he died from 8,000. So I was like, wait, was that fucking end phase?
Yeah. So Mystic Mind reads, if you control the same amount of monsters, destroy this card. So we both controlled 0.
So on the end phase, you were like Heavenly Dragon Circle, search a guy, pop my only monster. Now we both control 0, draw for turn, kill you.
Yeah.
It was so beautiful because again, I've seen so many people fold to this card. I've seen people complain about the card. And granted, the card is toxic. We all know that, right? But but how many Yu-Gi-Oh formats have toxic cards? This is nothing new. So to me,
nothing new, and you gotta play like. If the card's in the format, you either gotta play the card or you gotta fucking beat it.
Yeah, you gotta play or adapt. Like, you don't have a choice. So to me, like we play formats with Royal Oppression, with Vanity's Emptiness, with Crush Card Trap Death Shoot, Royal Tribute. There's a bunch of cards that are toxic as fuck, and it's like, you literally just have to play the format. If you can either play or you could quit. Like those are your choices. So Mystic Mind being in the format, it doesn't help to complain about it. Like, yes, we get it. Konami knows it's toxic. We know it's toxic. But if it's going to be in the format, either use it or figure out a way to beat it. But also, I love that you figured out a way to beat it. You don't have MST in your fucking deck. And when I say MST, I'm including like Galaxy Cyclone, Cosmic Cyclone, Twin Twister. You don't have any back row destruction that is blatantly designated for just Mystic Mind, which is what a lot of people were suggesting. Like, oh, just play Cosmic Cyclone, just play one copy. But that shit is ass. Like, and I know from a competitive standpoint, like no one has to tell. I don't play Yu-Gi-Oh anymore, but as far as modern Yu-Gi-Oh, but I know without anyone having to tell me, I don't want to play a card that's that much of a brick just for mine when I can find a way for my engine to out it. And I learned that in like 2013 from Patrick Hoban. He always talks about how the best deck is usually the deck that not only has the highest ceiling, but it also is a deck that can out certain floodgates with its own engine, right? And it's the problem with Necros. Back in 2014, Necros was like, and I'm going to use quotes here, it was the best deck, Necros. The problem with Necros, though, is that when your opponent flip Mistake, or they summon the Water Shaddoll Fusion, or when they there can only be one, or whatever random fucking cards that people flooded that deck out with, anti-spell fragrance, Necros could not out it with its own engine. It didn't have a built-in way. And this is to give it something to compare to. In 2013, you have Dragon Rulers. In Dragon Rulers, if somebody flipped a floodgate on you, you could use Blaster, and you play 3 copies of it, right? You could use Blaster, another fire monster, Flamval Guard, the baby Blaster, and Blaster itself, or like 2 blasters together, and you can literally pop any one card in the field. So Dragon Rulers had a built-in out to any floodgate, whereas certain other decks don't. And you found a way by not including MST or Cosmic Cyclone or anything like that to just use your regular engine that you combo with, the same engine you use to combo and dodge hand traps, use this to dodge Mystic Mind. And I think that is just amazing. Like, I think that it's great that you didn't have to go out of your way to do it, because again, who wants to actually play main deck Harpy's Feather Duster?
Yeah. No, I agree. That was kind of what made me want to play the deck.
So another thing about Sword Soul is that this deck, I want to say, is very consistent. I watched Jerry Williams play at a regional in Philly before Nationals, and he got his invite. So he's another person that just didn't have an invite, and he decided to just show up to a Philly regional one day. I was like, I'm just going to get it today. And he obviously did, but he played Sword Soul, and I watched him scrape up. So he went, it was 9 rounds. He went 7-2. One of the rounds he literally lost because he had no idea what the Despia cards did, and they had that Despia card in the graveyard that says a guy can't be destroyed and you just vanish it. Yeah. And he didn't know that, like, he had Crow in his hand, so he could have just crowed it and then killed the guy. He had no idea. So he was, and he told me before the round, he's like, I actually don't know what the Despia cards do, and I've beaten every Despia I played, but he finally played against one and didn't, like, he got into a weird situation. They were in time, which sucked because he would have won the game if it wasn't in time, but he was in time. He didn't know what the cards did. He ended up losing. But when I was watching him play all his rounds, I noticed that every single game he got to play, like every game, he played every single Flunderies, opened up broken, dimensional shift, all that. He like passed, then let them do that thing, and then he still finds a way to win. And then like all the decks do their crazy combos with the, like you said, the Punk deck, Teleport does all this crazy shit now. And he still just can play no matter what. And when he goes first, he also sets up a crazy ass board with follow-up. And I was like, damn, does that deck not brick or something? Like, how the hell do you get to play every game? I watch some of these other decks, they draw for turn. They're like, oh, I don't got Robina. I don't got this, like, pass. And they just die. And I watched the Sword Soul deck basically always have a play, even if it's not, like, some plays are obviously better, some hands are better than others. But for the most part, I've seen the deck get to play. Is that one of the reasons why you like it, is because it just is consistent too?
Yeah, I just wanted to give myself the best opportunity to perform. And, like, I felt if I played the most powerful non-engine cards with the most consistent deck, I'll do pretty well.
Smart thinking.
So the list I played was just simply like a very consistent regular Sword Soul list for the Sword Soul cards, and then all my non-engine cards. I decided not to play any low impact cards at all, like Imperm, Veiler, Ogre,
Yeah, I'm noticing
and
that.
because like if we're playing in a meta where like cards like the power creep of every other deck is like huge, you know.
Yes.
Like you need these kind of blowout cards to even be able to. If I lose the Dyro, you know, like I need to have some kind of crackback. Now that being said, that's where you're 100% right. Sword Soul is very consistent. All those other cards like non-engine is all just very powerful, and that's how like everything came about.
So that's how the deck is constructed. Who did you work on this deck with? Anybody? Has someone else played this exact deck list card for card? Like, do you?
It was just me. It's just me.
That's crazy.
I like show people. So it was a theory I had I had a theory that for that regional, I had like a regular social with like hand traps and shit, and I was just like, bro, this shit is kind of ass. Like,
that's what everybody's typically playing is just swords. Like when they do play swords, they play with 15 hand traps.
Yeah, and I was just like, I'm not gonna do this to myself. So I was like, let me just try something new, and it's funny because Boxio works very well with Mystic Mine.
You're playing 3 of that card too, Boxio. I noticed.
Yeah, so it's like you get to so the theory was that you spin back everything but a monster, right? And then you use Boxio to pop the mine, and then you keep playing from there. All you need is mine to make sure that your play goes through. Yep. But it's not. It's just being able to play Yu-Gi-Oh! At the end of the day. That's the only. I use the card just to be able to play.
Yeah, you use it also to because I imagine you made Mystic Mine for a reason. So you want to kind of stall the game out a bit so you can just do what, like you want to stall the game out to make it awkward for your opponent 1, slow them down 2, but also draw into exactly what you need so you can just kill them.
Yeah, exactly. So and like there will be some games where it's like you mine them. You draw rivalry. You set rivalry. Now you're gonna box you away everything that like back rows or leave them on a monster, right? That obviously isn't a rock monster or a fiend because you're playing around Token Collector and the barrel. Then rivalry gets flipped. Now you're playing around Token Collector and the rock. And now
okay, so with so rivalry was built-in protection from everything.
And it's also a board breaker as well. So it's like it's not only good going first, but it's you sometimes just need it to be able to play going second.
Yeah, no, that's fire. Rivalry is a fucking crazy card, by the way. That card has been out since it's been out before 2011. It's been out in 2010 because I play Edison format right now, and it's out in that format too. But it has a bad ruling in that format. But like it has been a plague since the dawn of time. I feel like, and a lot of people just sleep on it. The fact that you main deck it is definitely different. I have not seen that. I've seen it sided, obviously, but I have not seen people blatantly main deck it and also play Mystic Mine. But also the fact that you're playing it with the intention of dodging hand traps that are really powerful. Everyone knows Sword Soul kind of loses the nib a lot of the time. Like your hands where you just have to go for it, right? Is like, well, if he has nib, it sucks, but I'd rather play into nib than to try to make a subpar board to play around Nibiru. Like that, to me, that's just never the correct thing to do. Like if your hand can just like go off, if they have it, they have it. And I'm not going to be like, oh, like if he has it, I'm gonna make this fake board that's kind of ass and they're just going to win anyway. Like they'll just beat you. If you make a subpar board to play around Nibiru, like you'll just lose the game because your board isn't that good. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't make sense to do that. So you kind of have to like, that's why I like that you play rivalry and like when you can play around nib, you blatantly do, right? You have long wand. I remember the one game you opened up, you start out long wand, make Verone or whatever. And then from there you do your combo. It's like, well, you can't do anything now. Like, I'm only going to negate nib. You can do anything else you want, but I'm not, like, I'll just, and if you have imperm nib, then obviously you're a god and you deserve to win the whole tournament at that point. But
for sure.
Yeah, so Rivalry's broken. Rivalry, I know it's good going second because it breaks boards. I like the fact that what I didn't account for is that it dodges some of the hand traps, some of the most important hand traps. And Mystic Mine, go ahead.
No, it just dodges the two that beat you. Like it's like the Rock and the Fiend, the Token Collector.
Yep. And so you also play 3 Droplet, which is another card for going second. And it also is just, honestly, even if you don't go second, you go first, that card's also just cracked. That card's insane. Yeah. Droplet, no brainer on that one. Heavenly Dragon Circle. So I know some people don't play this card. Do you think that this card is just, because you play 3 of it, so you clearly feel very strongly about it.
Yeah.
And it gets you out of Mystic Mine apparently. So I think that.
Yeah. No, I feel like so like going into the so in preparation for this nationals, you have to agree that like the cards that you have to watch out for is like Calamities, Scythe, Mine, right? Yep. So it's like these are like you have to just kind of sit back and think about what's the problems right now, and it's like it's Calamities, Scythe, Mine, right? And so Calamities, they kind of get beat out if they don't put up a negate for just rivalry alone, just like makes it so that you don't die, and as long as you don't die, you win the game.
Yeah.
Now Scythe, so mining after a Scythe, or mining when they have like the Dagda what's it called, Hulk, like the game is probably just over right there, because then you just get to do whatever you like, because so what ends up happening is like the TG1, the Magician, the Dagda, and then the Scythe comes up, but the Scythe can't activate effect even if you have a token plus monster, because they control 3 monsters now while you control 2, the token and like whatever the level 4 monster is. So it's like it was like small shit like that, and then but yeah, my fault. I completely lost myself.
Well, we were just talking about like I said, like you really feel strongly about obviously Heavenly Dragon Circle and some of the other choices in the deck. So I mean, it makes sense because again, that's the card that I watched you literally win the finals with game 1, which to me, once you won game 1, I thought, oh, this shit's over. Like even no matter what happens in game 2, and he did end up winning game 2, but I was like, I just knew once you got to go first game 3. You were going to fuck it up, and your hand game 3 was so outrageous. Like, oh my God. You did not have to, like, it was so crazy. It was like Long Wan, Varone, then I think you ended with Baxia, Chichao, and then you ended up with Anti-Spell Fragrance. I think Droplet was set randomly.
Yeah.
And then you had a full hand too. And I was like, there is no fucking way he loses now. Like I could just tell you knew how to navigate, and this is what I mean when games go longer than one or two turns. You just knew how to navigate every interaction and what was going to happen. And anti-spell obviously just destroys Sky Striker, but your opponent, he played pretty well for what he had, right? Like I was surprised that it wasn't an immediate handshake. So when he was playing, I was like, man, this is kind of crazy. He had like double D barrier and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, you just held onto your resources and played really smart, and you closed it out. Games 1 and game 3.
Yeah, game 3. So people ask me like, why didn't I blackout pop the card across the skill drain or whatever? Well, the reason I had my hood on is because I had a stupid migraine, and but like I was just playing King of the Hill at that point because I knew that the thing was that like even if he uses all his cards to play, like he can't get through, like
yeah, because you have so much. I think you ended the game. You ended turn 1 with like +4 or 5 or some crazy. Like it was crazy. You have so many cards. You literally had 5 cards on the field turn 1. You had 3 synchros, I think, and like 2 or 3 back row, and then you also had cards in hand. So I was like, even if your opponent, like you said, even if he traded every single card he has for every card you have, you still win.
Yeah. So it was like just king of the hill kind of thing.
Yeah,
it was just
so you
like,
simplified it.
Yeah. I really didn't want to think anymore. My head was just fucking like
Bro, you played a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh. So what was Swiss? How many rounds? 11 rounds of Swiss?
11 rounds of Swiss.
And then top 64. So 64, 32, 16, 8, top 4, top 2. Yeah, so you played damn near 20 rounds of Yu-Gi-Oh. Like almost 20 rounds of Yu-Gi-Oh. I'm sure, like you said, you got to the end and you got your hood up and you're like, yo, I am mentally fatigued, but I still know these combos because I, thank God, practiced a lot. and I just know exactly what I'm doing. And if it's gonna come down to just king of the hill, I don't gotta get all fancy. I saw he did some imperm thing where he was like, oh, like that zone is negated, and it was like, okay, cool, like you got me there. But at the end of the day, right, like I set it up so where I can't lose no matter what, and I think that's more important than like, yeah, everyone, there's always gonna be technical stuff, but nobody wins a tournament without misplaying. That's just not possible. Everyone who's ever played Yu-Gi-Oh and who's ever won Yu-Gi-Oh has definitely had a technical error or two in the tournament. I definitely have. I know literally everyone else has. So it's like, to me, I was like, when that happened, I was like, I still don't see how Ryan gets out of this. Like I was like, that's just still, once he ends his turn, I just feel like it's game, and that's exactly what happened. It was just game. So
yeah, no, I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, like I misplayed, but
yeah, and it happens.
Yeah, no, the thing, yeah, I mean, I don't even care to justify it.
Exactly. First of all, bro, you won nationals twice. Like who cares, right? Like they can say what they want. At the end of the day, where were you at during this tournament?
Like catch up.
Exactly. So I was gonna say, one of the funniest things to me is that you played 43 cards, and to me, your deck is literally Sword Soul. And then I don't know if this actually happened. You know what I'm about to say. It's 43, so you know exactly where this is going. It looks to me like a Sword Soul deck, and somebody just said, "Yo, throw 3 mines on that bitch." Like, like I want to know at what point did you say, "Yeah, I'm maining Mystic Mine"? Because nothing got cut. Like you played 3 of everything you could play 3 of, which I think is great. Like I love that. Except the one guy everybody plays 2, Taye. Everybody plays 2 Taye. You can play 3, but nobody plays 3. So that outside of him though, you played 3 of literally every other card that makes sense to play 3 of, and then you just play 3 Mystic Mine, which is so funny to me because like other people like, oh, I want to play 40, I gotta play 40. It looks like this deck was like, yo, I'm just throwing 3 mines on that bitch, and I'm just gonna win this tournament. And I don't know. I don't know how much you did you test a lot with mine in the main deck, or did you? Yeah. Okay, so you knew going into it, I'm playing mine in the main deck. This wasn't like a last minute decision, right?
No. I was playing so that Edison Regional, the Gamer's Choice joint. I mained 3 mine and 3. I played the same 43 cards last month. Like,
okay, so this is literally the winning deck from that tournament as well.
Yeah, and I told James, I was like, James is the store, and I was like, yo, please, if it's possible, not to post this, like,
smart.
But he held it down. That's my guy.
Shout out to James Kyle. I've known him for a long time. I've known him since he was a kid, and seeing how far he's come in life and just in Yu-Gi-Oh, owning his own store, holding these regionals that literally Gamer's Choice has the best prize support of any regional in the entire fucking world. It's not even close. This man gives out cases upon cases, all types of extra stuff. He also hosts Edison format events, like Edison format side events to play at. So like people like me who don't play Mono Yu-Gi-Oh, but they can play other formats like that. I think that's amazing. Yeah, shout out to James, shout out to Gamer's Choice. Really sick local, and just a sick, a really sick TO. I really like James.
Yeah, no, he's honestly that's also the reason why I kind of came back, because like being able to play at Gamer's Choice, I needed a place like. So like my first one was Nebula's. Nebula's was very
we got the like picture
a hub for that, like it was like a lot of playing. And even back then I was playing Dueling Network. Like I was playing a lot of Dueling Network with TGs, and then like consistently grind Dueling Network like every day.
Yeah.
But I had more time back then. So
yeah, you were a kid, so it's like you got more time. I see your first win, you have a Nebulous t-shirt on, which actually looks kind of fire.
Yeah. Shout out to Sai. He that was his whole thing.
Also, I wanted to say this too. So, when I met you, and most people know you from way back in the day, you had a lot of hair.
Yeah.
And now the grown up version, you cut your hair off, and I'm like, yo, man, like, why'd you cut your hair? I just like randomly just wondering what made you cut your hair.
I don't know.
Just a lot to
day.
manage.
Yeah, one day I was just like, you know what, fuck it. It is what it is.
Just gotta change.
Yeah.
Keep evolving. I love that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with change. But you look so fucking young on this picture. So people who are on our Patreon, right? Because people on Patreon, they can actually watch video versions of the podcast. And
Word.
so they can see like the pictures we have up. But on the left is your championship photo from 2011, July 17th, 2011. And now we have the one on the right is July 17th, 2022, which is so crazy. July 17th, that has to be the craziest, luckiest number for you, because like lightning struck twice. A once a
And
year tournament. Go ahead.
and I won at 17 my first time.
You were
I was
17 the first time. So that told
Yeah.
so that tells me how old you are now. 11 years to do the math.
Yeah.
That's that's crazy. So you won before you were even an adult. Like you were 17, you are not legally an adult yet, and then now you did it as a man. That's great. That's great. We talked about this a little bit on Facebook Messenger, but you were saying, I'm going to read this out loud. It's the message you sent me. You said, I was thinking about the difference between Yu-Gi-Oh back then and now, like which is better. And you said it's actually hard to say, also hard to compare, but I think it's an interesting topic. I think the big thing is back then you had 6-month formats, which allow people to master their decks, which provided excellent play. But comparing it to now, you have to pick up a deck, learn the ins and outs and lines, just to defeat boards in like 2 weeks or something. So basically you're saying back then formats were longer, right? Like, back in 2011, 2012, formats lasted 6 months, and we knew they lasted 6 months. There was a lot of time to like, oh, I'm playing X Sabers, and you got all this time to figure out everything, right? Whereas now decks come out way faster. They're so powerful now too, so you got to know them. Like you can't. I feel like back then you used to also be able to ignore decks. Like
100%.
Yeah, like certain decks would come out. For example, I think Jeff played Nordics at YCS Charlotte, I think it was 2011. Like he played Nordics, and I think he almost topped. He went like X2 or something. He almost topped with Nordics, and that's a deck where I'm gonna be honest, I didn't test against it at all, didn't play with it at all. I read the cards a little bit, like just a bare minimum. I was like, this seemed ass, and I just completely disregarded it. And I got away with it though. Like I was able to I topped that event with Dragoonity, which also was a new deck, and I would hope that people knew what Dragoonity was, because that deck was actually like decent and it was a starter deck. But like certain decks, you could literally say, I don't fucking care. I don't need to know what these cards do. And now I just feel like when I've come back to Yu-Gi-Oh, like going to my locals and seeing people play, I've seen 20 decks and all of them can kill you. I mean, all of them. Yeah. Like it is crazy to me. The Dragon Maid deck that Kenny plays, you have Adignister, which puts up a fucking towers turn one that you can't beat and you just lose to it. Shadal Dogmatica can kill you. Literally every deck that and these are all decks that are not considered the Source Souls and all that. Like they're not the tier 1 decks, but they're like tier 2, but they still just kill you if you don't do anything or you don't know what you're doing. And that didn't exist back then really. Like that would happen every once in a while where somebody would come out of nowhere with a deck like TG, a deck like Gravekeeper, and they do well at a tournament and everybody's like, oh shit, I didn't even know this was a deck. Now I just feel like you have to actually know, you gotta know like what's happening with everything.
I'm actually curious. You mentioned Sword Soul. Unless something changed, I wasn't actively keeping up the current meta, but I know like within the last couple of months, people don't even really consider Sword Soul like a tier 1 deck.
Yeah, they thought it was. They thought it wasn't.
Yeah. And I guess it's maybe because the typical deck list people play is the deck that you said you play, Hansel, that was like, you were like, this is kind of ass. And then you went into the lab and fine-tuned it and deck built it to like, where you're like, oh no, I'm going to win this event.
Yeah. One thing I don't like, and I don't know how you feel about this too, but from a deck building perspective, and I'm not the best deck builder in the world. I've gotten a lot better at it over the years, but it's never been a thing that I'm like super known for. I just know how to top tournaments because I'm really good as a technical player. Like I'm a really, really good technical player. That's like my skill, right? I'm really analytical. But as far as deck building goes, I never liked this new era of playing 15 to 18 hand traps. I hate that. I fucking hate that. Like that. Go ahead.
No, I agree. But you have to I get that's like, so it's like the never ending battle. I just had like I always have conversations with like my friends about it. But I think it's actually healthier for the game because the thing is that if we were to go to a like let's say if we ban Scythe, right?
Yeah.
And get rid of that problematic card, right? And now people don't necessarily have to play all these hand traps. But what ends up happening is decks are going to be a bunch of extenders, right? It's like fuck a hand trap.
You just play all these crazy extenders.
Yeah, of course, right? But now the flaw in that is you lose the die roll, and now I'm throwing all my extenders on the board, right? And building this crazy board that you can't beat now, and now you have to figure it out, like now you get one extra card, but now you have to deal with like the power creep of Yu-Gi-Oh that
so
like I have these
negates, all these monsters with these crazy effects that protect each other. And I know I totally understand that, but you know what I also think too, contrary to that a little bit, they have printed some crazy go second cards in the last couple years. And I'm talking about recent. Like, I feel like evenly matched Mystic Mine, Forbidden Droplet, what's the other one? Dark Ruler No More,
Yeah.
Nib. Those cards, the Go Lightning Storm, those Go second cards are so outrageously powerful now that it's interesting to think about what the game would be like without hand traps. Because on one hand, sure, if there's not a lot of hand traps, then you're playing a format where everybody can play a bunch of extenders. At the same time, though, those decks that play all those extenders and set up these crazy boards tend to lose to people who are just playing like main deck evenly match, main deck Lightning Storm, main deck Infinite Permanence, and all. You know what I mean? Like they just play these crazy turn 2 board breaking cards.
Yeah, but then so now you've obviously had a lot of success, and you know that those kind of decks with these like hard going second cards don't do well. I feel like the objective of deck building for me at least is building the deck to win the event, not building a deck to top. So if you want to top an event, yeah, you can probably get away with playing these gold second cards and like sneak people, you know?
Yep.
But like once you get to top cut, people know what you play.
And that's another thing. Like people know what you play, and then they make you go first, and then you have Lightning Storm and evenly matching your hand.
Yeah, and the game's over. It's like damn. Because now their hand is full of extenders, and you have these you know what I mean? So it's like now that's like the you know the real, like that's the reality of it. So it's like, now that being said, it's like, is Mystic Mind that bad? Is Scythe really that bad? You know what I mean? Like it's like, and like you need these. So now is hand traps really that bad? You know what I mean? So it's like you start to question all this, and
hand traps help to combat how powerful the cards are now, right? Like without Nibiru, Sword Soul would just be the absolute best deck. Like if that card did not exist at all, you guys will be, because I think somebody showed me a combo at Philly, and this is really basic, right? So like, forgive me if I butchered this, but there is a Sword Soul monster that came out. I think he's 10 stars, so you could make him a Baron, but he says you draw a card when you synchro. And there's some broken ass turn 1 play where you could summon him, then summon, I think, Chi-Cha or whatever, and you draw 2 cards, one from Moye and one from that other guy, and then you search. And it's like, it's super game. If you do that, it's like super game. But the problem is with that play, I think it plays in a Nibiru. And so if Nibiru didn't exist, you could just open up turn 1 and start doing that play, and you know that nothing can happen.
Go ahead. There's actually a play where if you open up 2 Tenyis, which is like Ashna plus Adhara or Vishuddha, and Emergence, right? So it's like it's a 3-card combo, but the thing is that it actually checks for everything. So like I was doing that at the event as well. Like it's special summon Ashna, you make the monk, special summon Vishuddha, then you banish Ashna, summon out Adhara, you synchro to Boxia pop monk, and then you bring up Adhara. So now your board is Adhara, Boxia. Now here typically people are thinking you're going for a Chao Fang line, which means that they wouldn't be able to use their light monster effects, right? Because you make Chao Fang with the light Boxia. Now you activate Emergence, right? Because you banish for Ashna, so they don't have Ash. They would have ashed you because you summoned the worst card. You summoned Vishuddha or Adhar or whatever. Right. You know. So now you activate Emergence. Emergence resolves. You search Taya, summon Taya. Taya effect banish Emergence, right? And now you get a token. Emergence effect. You boost up Boxia to level 9, and now you checked for Ash. You checked for Veiler Imperm. You checked for Nibiru. Now you make 9 and 1. You make the level 10 guy, the one we just spoke of. Then you make a second Boxia with the Taya, and now I skipped a step. The token Taya, you banish Adhara. Adhara gets you a worm, so that way you don't even have to have another worm to reveal off your Moye that your Taya is gonna dump. You make Boxia again. Boxia pop itself, bring up Moye. Moye reveal the worm you just added off of Adhara, make token into Shisha, draw 2. So it's like small plays like that where it checks every box.
Yeah, and that's broken because the one thing that is, from the outside looking in, the thing that makes Yu-Gi-Oh! I always say what separates, because the same people are still topping events, right? Like, no matter what the format is, no matter how bad or whatever, at the end of the day, there's like a group of, let's say a pool of like 50 to 70 players who are the main guys topping all the time. And you have to ask yourself, well, what's separating them from everybody else? Like, obviously, people on the outside will just blame it on metrics that they don't understand, or they'll just say, oh, they're cheating or something stupid like that, right? But then when I hear people like you speak and you go through a play like that, where you literally were going through a checklist in your head, like, that's how Yu-Gi-Oh should be played. It should be played in a sense of, I'm not just blindly fucking comboing off and hoping to God that my opponent doesn't have this card. I'm literally checking. And if he hasn't, then play it, then, I mean, he's just going to lose anyway. And if he's smart, he'll play exactly when I presented the opportunity, the best possible opportunity to do it. And if we get past that, it's like you check it off in your head, you check it off in your head, you check it off in your head. And I'm sure that you're going through these drills so much that you know, okay, well, what if he didn't use it right here? What if he waited until this point? It was like, well, this is not a choke point anymore. Like, if you do it here, it just doesn't matter. So I like the fact that you have a checklist in your head of ways to pilot this deck, to play around every hand trap, or the ones that matter, per se.
I feel like that's I feel like going into events now, you have to just know what hurts you, and then play accordingly. It's
So what do you think about this past, because now the format's over after nationals? I always say like that's it for that whole that whole format of Yu-Gi-Oh is done, and we're about to get into this whole Splight thing. But before we even talk about that, I was gonna say, how did you feel about the format for nationals as a whole? Like, were you feeling, obviously I think you felt confident because you had just won a regional, but before you won that regional, before you had the Sword Soul deck that won the nationals and the regional, like, you had played in other tournaments probably, and maybe they didn't go your way, or maybe you were like, oh, it's because I did this wrong, or I did this wrong. Like, how did you feel about the format prior to nationals and prior to that regional?
So I was still confident. Mystic Mind isn't new to the like my whole what I was doing. I think I was siding it at the time.
Yeah.
But I've been siding it since I got back into the game. I got back in January of this year.
Okay.
I started playing again, and I read the card Mystic Mind. Then I started reading Boxia and stuff like that, and then I started thinking about like how to be able to like use that with the combo, because I felt like mine was a powerful card, and mine during that time beat the bird deck, the Lyralist or whatever.
Yeah, bird up.
Yeah. So like I just wanted to be able to like use all these kind of cards to my advantage. But so that's where my confidence came from, because I wasn't new to Mystic Mind and Sword Soul, and that's when I was like, I felt so confident in the game and so good about the game. I even invited like friends who haven't played Yu-Gi-Oh in forever. I got Marcus to come back. I got like Roland to come back, and I would tell them like, yo, like, you know why you're coming back though, like, like, yeah, I'm bringing you back because you got to see this, like, fucking around and shit.
You got to see me win again. And they did. Yes. They really did though. That's the crazy part.
So like, yeah, like those are my second place friends,
Oh shit.
They're my second place buddies.
I love a good, I grew up with a second place buddy myself, I got my second place buddies as well. I got Sean and Kate.
Yeah,
we love it. We love our second place buddies.
Yeah, they're great. So I mean, it's and by all means, I'm not saying that's like brag or anything. It's more motivation. At the end of the day, I told everyone, I was like, yo, bro, if none of my friends win within this year, I'm just gonna quit again, because like I don't even want to play to win anymore. I just like, if I just want to see one of my friends, I want to be at the event when one of my friends win.
That's a good feeling.
Yeah, I need it to happen. Last time it was TJ, and that's why I fuck with TJ so much.
He went undefeated. That is crazy.
Yeah,
TJ really did that shit. Yeah, shout out to TJ. I actually watched the deck profile, or I watched a little bit of it, but then I stopped because I was like, I didn't want to hear your answers to certain questions. They started asking questions about the deck, and I was like, I want to just ask you myself and just get an authentic answer that I'm not prepared. Like, I already know you're going to say this, right? But I saw the beginning of it where he was like, no, it's all TJ. He's my manager. And I started laughing. TJ's great. Yeah. I got to get TJ on here too. So I think real soon we're going to have TJ on there, because I do want to talk to him about Yu-Gi-Oh. But I love, in general, the whole New Jersey, New York crew. You guys are like a big ass family to me. Like, when you guys win, it is unlike any other fucking Yu-Gi-Oh players winning. It is so different. Like, the way you guys stormed the stage, I was so afraid. I was like, Konami might draw and like get mad because like New Yorkers don't care. Like y'all just a different breed, and like y'all stormed the stage on camera. That shit was so fire to me though. I see like Anke and everybody like all hugging you and everything. It's just cool. I see like Sean Coover's there and everything. It was great. Like I love New York's energy. My dad is born and raised in New York, and so I have like that. I have that energy. Like that energy's in me. Like I'm born and raised in Philly. But like it's not far from New York, and obviously I've been knowing the New York players for my whole Yu-Gi-Oh life. You can't not, especially living this close to the sun. So it's like it's just amazing. Like New York is just one of those great places. And I was just there yesterday, as you know.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, I feel like it's needed though. I feel like that's what the game's been missing. It's like it's you know like a lot of us New Yorkers, we don't really talk much about like. This is the most I talk ever. Like this is the most Yu-Gi-Oh I would ever talk.
It's crazy. It's been an hour and 5 minutes. I have never ever heard you on anything this long like ever. This is an exclusive interview that like never has happened.
Yeah, like I don't even like doing deck profiles or anything like that. Like that's not me. I only did it because it's you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, you said like I'm only doing this because it's you, and I really appreciate that. By the way, like I said, that is. To me, this is so fire because you're one of those players. You have a mystique to you, like you, McCabe, and a couple other people who are like really, really good players, but they don't do a lot of press. Like they don't do a whole bunch of like posting online. They're not the most like loud people, but they're like really, really good, and people might sleep on them, which is their mistake. Like that's their mistake. But it's like, yeah, you're one of those people who I consider to be a sleeper where if I play against you, like, I don't want to play against you. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, yeah, I got to play against this guy. Like, no, I don't fucking want to play against this guy because he knows what he's doing and he's quiet about it. Like, I think that those are the assassins. Like, the people you sit down and they don't do a whole bunch of talking. They just kind of play and they just get shit done. Like you said, you have a checklist in your head. Yeah. Your opponents don't know that, like, you are playing cards and you're looking at them waiting for a response. And you're like, okay, if you do this, I'm just going to do this instead now. So I really like, I respect you guys, but yeah, New York. So it's like the culture there. One of the things that I find to be so funny and so great about New York also is that everyone there is like so. You talk about confidence. New Yorkers are confident. Like they're very. You guys just believe in yourselves like no other person. I think that's important also in a game like this. Where it's just having self-confidence goes a long way. But I know one thing about New Yorkers, no matter if they are literally terrible or not, they think that they are the best players in the fucking world. And I think that is just like, that is necessary. Like you need to believe in yourself before anybody else does.
Yeah, of course. I mean, but that goes for anything. Like if you're entering any kind of competition in general, I feel like if you don't believe that you're going to do well, then like, maybe it's not for you. Like, maybe, because
that's
like,
why all those messages you have of you telling people like, look, I'm going to win this weekend, and you got to kiss both trophies. Like, you got
yeah. That was last month. But yeah, no, for sure. Like at the end of the day, it is what it is, and you just have to have that kind of energy.
Yeah.
You're right. I get it from New York, and it's funny because new school Yu-Gi-Oh players, it's like kind of weird to see, what it has evolved to. Because like I remember back in the day, it would be like, everyone would kind of be to themselves, and like they were like, and like there was like the deck builder, like Shane is known for like being that guy. You know what I mean?
Yes.
From back in the day, and then after him, I felt like the notable guy was like Pat, like building decks. But in terms of New York, we would all just be super quiet. Now I feel like there's like a bunch of like little like there's a lot of teams going, like a lot of team things going on after ARG, because I left during ARG, you know what I mean, was the thing, and then I don't even know what, like, you know what I mean, like I'm so out the loop, like
bro,
dude.
You ain't the only one. There's a lot of teams now, and I see like the good players are on them, but I don't really know the teams anymore. Like I used to know the team. I used to know Overdose. I used to know Super Friends. This is way back in the day. I used to know Super Friends, Comic Odyssey. I grew up studying the metagame.com. I grew up like studying all that stuff, and then in the weirdest way, I ended up becoming like the thing I studied. Like ARG was like one of those crazy big monster teams. And then obviously I quit for a long ass time. Like I quit for 5 or 6 years. And now there's all these other teams out here. And I don't really know like all the players on the team, but I know that they're doing their thing. Like they're just out here getting it. Like they're topping a bunch. They're deck building. Like you said, there's the Shane, there's the Patricks. Now you got like, I think Hani Jawari is one of the players who's known for really good deck building now. Jesse Cotton, of course. And then some people who I probably don't even like, those two I know, but I don't, I'm sure there's more and I just have no idea. So sorry to you guys, but like shout out to all the deck builders out there who are keeping the game alive and making sure we're not just playing a Japanese meta.
Yeah, like and yeah, it's dope. I love it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What I was gonna say was you need to come play current format, bro.
You think I should do it? You think I should do it?
I'm like, bro. Just the thing is that I need you to get that second one.
I know. I thought about it too. I was like, damn. So now I've seen Steve Silverman, right, get a second win, and I've seen you get a second win, and you guys are both people who quit Yu-Gi-Oh, like me. And then you guys came back and won. And not even that, like, it's kind of scary how fast y'all won. Like that to me is the reason why that's so insane to me is because it's like people haven't had to play against you guys for years or like, you know, seriously play against you guys for years. And just you coming back into the game is a problem. Like you going through Swiss is another person that somebody could sit across from and be like, they're good, but they just lose to you because you're also good or better. And that's such a cool concept to be like this player existing. Like, for example, I saw this with Tommy Rowe. Tommy Rowe didn't play for a long ass time. And now he came back and he got second place at a YCS immediately. And I was like, that's fucking nuts. Like, you come back, you went
not on anybody's radar at first. Right?
Yeah, it's like you come back. I kind of think you're a joke.
Back, he's not on radar. Like,
when you first come back, I would think you're kind of a joke. I'll be like, yo, you don't know what a link is. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't make all these jokes.
I had to figure it out. I had to figure it out. I didn't know how to link some in and shit like that. But you know what I mean? I like having to learn something new. But
so you think I can do it?
Yeah, bro, of course, dude. Like, like it's not even a like, you know what I mean? Like it's the proof is in the pudding. Like it's there. You know what I mean? You got the blood. You know what I mean? Yeah. But yo, bro, and back to your like quitting and coming back. Well, you're more of like a notable name. Like, you know, you got your name out there and everyone. But for me, bro, somebody in top 8 called me a random. Like,
what?
and I was just like, you know what, like.
You can have it, like you. Yeah, but look, now you're the random with 2 nationals wins again. The only player in history.
How funny is that? You look at the person across from you call him a random, and then like when the tournament's over, your boy goes like, "You realize he won nationals before, right?" Like, you know what I mean?
Hansel is in literally the only like you are in a category that no one else is in. It's literally you by yourself. It's funny. Nazar commented.
So random. You random Nazar, with 2 nat wins.
Nazar commented under one of, I don't know if it was your post or it was TJ's post. Somebody made a post. And Nazar commented and said something like, oh, I was waiting for somebody else to do it with the 2 wins. I was lonely here, or something like that, right? And in my head, I was thinking to myself, like, did you just compare yourself to 2 Nats wins? Because that's not the same thing. Like, you won 2 YCS, and a lot of people won 2 YCS from New York. Like, a lot. Yeah. Like, New York actually might have the most 2-time YCS winners in history. Like, no cap. I was thinking about it the other day while I was in the shower. I was like, I'm thinking about, like, Shane, Paul, like, Steve Harris. Like, I was just going through all the names. I was like,
Jerry Wang won
3. I'm like, yo, New York has a lot of people who double popped. And so I'm like, Nazar, like, you're, you know, New Jersey, New York player. Double pop, great. Obviously, that's great. But I was thinking, like, don't compare yourself to the fucking GOAT. Like, this man won nationals twice. Like, I cannot express enough how insane it is to win that tournament. It's once a year, and sometimes it's not even in the year. In the last 2 years, we haven't had it. So, like, if you won the first one, this is the first nationals back, right? Like, isn't this the first one?
Yeah, it's the first one back.
Yeah, so the last nationals was like 2019.
I love the fact that somebody called you a random.
Yeah, that's wild.
Like, that is so
bro, honestly,
crazy.
though, that's the funny thing about quitting Yu-Gi-Oh! And coming back to it, because, again, like, he's not the loudest player and never was. Like, you're not the kind of guy. Like, obviously, with your friends, we all joke and stuff like that, right? Like, you joke with your friends, and we have... But, like, you're not a person that just, like, brags to random people or like talks crazy shit to randoms. So to me, it's funny when people don't know who you are because they didn't do their homework or they just wasn't around. They might have been a kid when you in 2011 when you won. That's literally now 11 years ago. Like, I won 12 years ago. It's fucking ancient now. So people might not know us. And it's just kind of funny because you are literally in a tier of your own now. Like, you have no choice but to know who I am now. Like, I'm your fucking national champion.
he'll just wait another 11 years.
Yes, another 11. Yo, if he does it again on July 17th, 2020 or 2033, like that would just be fucking nuts. But I think that is so cool because you got a bunch of people who like, I call them people who can't close. Like there's the people who got second a lot. Shout out to them too. I mean, that's still a feat in itself. But clearly, you said I'm not settling for second, and you don't know anything about that club. You know,
I don't know. I like the thing is I heard somebody say I heard someone say, yo, like there's no difference between first and second, like
that's cap.
And I said, yeah, that's I mean it's that sounds like somebody who never won.
That's definitely I'll tell you this. People don't even remember who got second most of the time. Like that's no shade, but like people literally don't remember. If you go through all the YCS that people have won and you'd be like, who got second at that? And people like look up, they'd be like, I forget who got. I think Sorso got second, but they won't know they don't really know who, right? Like it's like unless you're like some super notable player, but for the most part, even sometimes if you're super notable, people still might not know who got second at that event. So I think there's a huge difference. And obviously, look at the fucking trophy you're holding, like that. You got the number 2 up, like you got the trophy. It's insane. Also, let's wrap this up. You know, we had you now for almost an hour and a half, and I know you have.
Before we wrap up, I do want to ask a quick question.
Yeah, I want to do one thing too. Go ahead.
Unrelated to Yu-Gi-Oh, right? I'll give you a break from the Yu-Gi-Oh talk. I saw your Discord icon was my big homie Himura Kenshin.
Yeah.
We're a bunch of fucking nerds, so I just wanted to ask, if is Kenshin like one of your favorite anime or manga?
Yeah. I kind of grew up on it. I'm not like super big on anime. Like I'm not gonna sit here and cap, but like for sure, I remember growing up, my older brothers would just throw it on. Like I would watch Kenshin before going to play Yu-Gi-Oh. Like that was my like
yeah.
And like so that was my shit. And it's funny enough because like I fuck with Kenshin heavy, and I feel like that's what made me want to fuck with Sword Soul because it's like, you know what I mean.
That's sick.
So it's like. I know it's like super, you know what I mean.
That's dope. That's dope as fuck.
That's my guy for sure.
That's actually kind of cool too. You have the Kenshin and Sword Soul through line there with the swords and everything. That's dope. Never thought about that. I want to give you an opportunity to just give out like shout outs to anybody you want to give shout outs to, any locals or anything you want to just give a shout out to before you go.
Shout out Gamer's Choice. Shout outs to YM CMD. That's my gang. It's like I feel like everyone quit Yu-Gi-Oh except like Dave and Andrew, but you know those are my guys. They still play.
Andrew, you talking about Andrew Pollard?
Yeah, he's back.
What?
He's back.
I haven't seen him in fucking years.
Yeah, bruh. So he you know, and that's kind of what made me want to play again. It's like, yo, bro, I'm linking up with people I haven't seen in forever and shit like that.
I'm coming
crazy.
to I heard there's another Edison Regional Gamers Choice John in like August.
Yeah.
My friend Xavier just told me about it yesterday while we were in New York. So I said, well, I'm probably going to go to that because the last one that they had, I didn't go to because I didn't know until the week of. Like it literally. So Shannon Baxter he was in Philly for like that week. And I know he was like, oh, I'm going to a regional this weekend. I was like, where is it? And he was like, Edison. I said, I didn't even fucking know that there was Edison. I would have went, but I made plans. So I didn't end up going. But this one that's coming up, I think it's like the first week of August or something like that, or second week of August.
They have Edison format?
Yes, they have Edison format.
Cool. That's cool that they were like, you know what, fuck it. There's a format that's going around right now named after Edison. We got to have the Edison format.
And I think it's in the same exact place where the tournament was held all those years ago, too. So it's kind of... Yeah, it has that energy still there. Like when I was there one time, I think it was like April or or May. When I was there, I felt it. I was like, this room, like I can literally feel like I played in Edison. I actually went, this crazy thing is I went 9-2 at the actual Shonen Jump and I got 34th place. So like I just didn't that would have been my first top, mind you. And it's just crazy that like I missed it by 2 spots and I was heartbroken, obviously, but then I ended up winning that year. At the end of the year. So it's like, it made up for it. I was like, all right, well, I'll take that disappointment if it means that I get to have the fucking, the trophy at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean that. Yeah, I think that you take those. You know what I mean?
You take it. It's like everybody goes through those bad beat stores. Everybody has had a record where they're like, "Damn, I thought I did good." Or your deck, you knew your deck was better than everybody else's, but like sometimes you play against some bullshit round 1 or 2, and then it's like, yeah, this matchup is ass.
But yeah, that's like the difference between building a deck to win and then building a deck to top. Like you can get through Swiss, but like you might not get through top cut.
Yeah.
You know
I
what
like
I
how
mean?
you said people know what you're playing in top cut. Like I'm gonna make you go first, but you'll go second cards.
Yeah, but there's one thing I wanted to say.
Go ahead.
So Fraser, I heard you're not the best player out of LaSalle.
the best player out of LaSalle now? Who's the best player out of LaSalle?
David Z. Everett.
Oh my god. How's Dave been? No, because I actually miss Dave. I haven't seen him in a long time. But Dave is one of the goats. I love Dave, yo.
Yeah, nah, he you know, I mean, he fucks with your podcast and shit. He's good. He's chilling. Like
I gotta reach out to Dave. I hope he comes. If he comes to Edison next month, I'll be there.
Word. I'll tell him to pull up.
Yeah, he should pull up.
I'll be there. I'm probably not even gonna play, to be honest.
Yeah. Definitely don't play. Please don't play. I'm begging you. Please don't play. I feel like when you just won a tournament, like especially like on this level, you just gotta not play. Like you gotta show up though, but you don't play.
Yeah.
Don't give people a chance to beat you. Like you gotta just be like the undefeated god right now. Like you have to sulk in there. Like I need you to just be like a presence in a room.
Nah,
I love it.
I'm the only reason I'm not gonna play. I actually don't mind like losing. I feel like losing you learn, right? So it's like
Also, I'm just talking my shit. Like I just like, but I do have this thing where I really like. There's like again, I said earlier in this podcast, you have a certain mystique to you. Like a lot of people just don't know anything about you, and that's actually a good thing, right? In a way, and I also think that it's one of those things that makes you like. It kind of makes you like again mysterious. You just have like a mysterious thing going on where I never played him, but like he fucking won nationals twice, so clearly he's a god. Like he has to be a god on some level because who wins nationals twice? Like that shit is so hard.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know.
Yeah, now there's exactly one name they can give.
Yeah, there's one name, the random.
Yeah, the literally the random. Yo, bro, he was a little kid though. I feel like I
said he wasn't born. He wasn't around. He was probably like a.
Yeah, he was a little kid. But I mean, I fucked up. I shouldn't have said that because the thing was, I noticed that I said it in top 8. So yeah, somebody would probably figure out who it was.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I didn't want to. I didn't want to put anybody in top.
You know what's funny though is that you had that hood on, and I saw you posting pictures of Anakin Skywalker killing the younglings, and now I'm thinking about this kid who is like, who's that random? And then you got the fucking lightsaber on. Like you gonna find out real soon.
So the whole thing. So like, all right. The hoodie it's a Rick Owens hoodie, so it's not even that's like fashion. But
yes,
the reason I had it on is like, bro, one like Swiss rounds is cold as fuck, and then when my head started hurting, and it protects my eyes from all the light. So it's like it's not even.
You had migraines, which trying to play a thinking game like Yu-Gi-Oh all the way to the finals and then winning with a migraine, like that couldn't have been fun.
Oh no, that it was brutal. But no. So like, whatever. It don't even matter. That shout out to that kid. Hopefully he does well and like, you know.
Yeah, I mean, so this kid was in top 8.
Yes, I believe.
So,
no, 100%. He was in top 8 because he also hit me with another disrespectful line that I won't even say it on this because I was just like, damn, like yo, like it's funny because TJ started because TJ was there. TJ was the one that told me he called me a random, and I laughed, and then the kid hits me with like another disrespectful line, and I'm like, wow, like these little kids are something else.
I know who this is. I think is he a short little chubby fat kid, black kid?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought I knew who you were talking about. Never mind. I don't know who this is, or maybe I do. But
and I'm just sitting there like, yo, this is not life. Like
this is real life. The kids are crazy now. They shake that shit and they talk shit too.
That's right.
Yeah,
they will shake that shit and talk shit.
It's definitely a different era.
Yes.
If he would have got up and started dancing the drill music, yo.
Yeah, yeah. Like imagine that.
That would have been insane.
He makes a TikTok on stage, like what?
I'm surprised nobody did that. Honestly.
Yo, no.
I only got one question for you. Before we go, and you kind of answered this already, but I still want to ask it because So there's a thing like you say like, oh, I'm going to win this tournament, right? And a lot of people do that. Like there's 1,800 players who went to that nationals, and I bet 1,000 of them said I'm gonna win. But like you are the guy who actually did it. Now, when you were in top 4, right? Yeah, I think that's when you played against Pascal, right? When you were sitting there, did you say to yourself like, I'm really about to win this shit though? Like I'm gonna win this entire event. Like when you were sitting there, and like,
bruh, I was out. So in top 32, when they asked you to strike a pose, I hit the trophy pose. That's the only pose I know. So it's like
that's the only pose I know.
So like the confidence was there. Like I you know what I mean. But that's not even for anybody but myself. Like I need to hype myself up.
Yeah,
you know.
I think that for sure.
So it's like it's not even what like I feel like anybody can twist anything, but like at the end of the day, it was just I gotta hype myself up to feel good. And during top 4, I actually told Pascal before going up because like I don't know him well, but I know I fuck with Carl,
Yeah, I know Carl
and Christian, like you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So like he's just a homie off of love, you know.
Yeah.
I told him I was like, yo, bro, to be honest with you, whoever wins this match right here is gonna win
the tournament.
Win the tournament.
I said the same thing to Nazar in 2012. Dallas YCS top 8. Me and Nazar are playing, and I was like, whoever, because it's a feature match. I was like, whoever wins this top 8 match between me and you, it was a Dino Rabbit mirror match. I said, whoever wins this is winning the entire YCS. And then he won game 3 and he won the entire YCS. I felt it. I was like, if I win this, if I beat Nazar, I'm going to be another YCS champion. Like I knew it.
Yeah.
So
you feel it. Like, you know what I mean? Like
you look around, you're like, it's no disrespect to y'all, but I'm gonna win again. Like I'm just gonna win again. So I know what you mean. Like is one you get to the point where it's like it's only one opponent that matters, and it's like after I get through that person, that's it. There's nobody else.
So, I need to see this trophy pose with no trophy though.
I'm sure it's there online somewhere.
It's on stream. It's like I held it up at, like I think top 32. I just like I held it up, and then I think in top 4 when I got another like feature match, I threw up the number 2 so people understood like yo like it's not I'm not showing you the first one. I'm coming for the second.
That's so fire. That's so fire.
All right, before we get out of here, guys, as always, I want to give a shout out to our patrons over at Patreon. So if you want to watch this episode of the podcast, if you want to see the video version of it, we have video versions of all of our podcast episodes at IMNerd Podcast on patreon.com. You can subscribe there. We have different tier levels, and it gets you access to our Discord server, the IMNerd Podcast Discord. We talk about anime, we talk about Marvel, we talk about obviously Yu-Gi-Oh! There's a whole bunch of stuff, and also some of the tiers unlock the ability to actually duel versus me or Kenny and Yu-Gi-Oh! There's all types of exclusive content, episodes that literally drop only on Patreon. You can only get them through Patreon. So check that out if you're interested. But for the people who are already subscribed and actually paying for the podcast, thank you so much. It goes a long way. We have Connie, Austin, Leon, Quest, Garen, Xavier, Hylian, TCG Automotive, Silver Chronic, Tyree Tinsley, Dimitri Barnes, Alexander Brissett, Vinny Casello, Giovanni Avelos, Alex Flamer, Henri Reynolds, CJ, WK-1, Saul at Dabber's Gaming Cafe, Dennis Milburn, Joseph Marcella, Red Vines, First to Home, Dallas Fernaris, S. Akuma, Mitchell Naus, Midwest Gaming, William Shapiro, Dimitri Safirdas, Vince Marquette, Dallas Bailey, KJ, Biz, Roz Weiss, Nick Stango, and Scott Polera. Thank you guys so much for supporting the IMNerd Podcast. And thank you so much, Hansel, for joining us. Again, this is one of my favorite interviews that we've ever done on this podcast. It might be my favorite, honestly, just because I know your history and seeing you literally 11 years later repeat something that no one else has ever done. And we've had a lot of great national champions. It's just a dream come true just to watch. So I'm really happy for you. And I hope you understand the mark that you left on history by doing that this past weekend. So shout out to you, man.
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
Just wanted to celebrate you, give you your flowers,
Thank you. I'm happy to be on the podcast with y'all. Like you guys are goats in your own way. So
thank you. Like we appreciate that, man.
This is different.
People like you help us take it to the next level.
No, not even. You guys are doing it on your own. But one thing is that I want to end it on. You coming back to new school Yu-Gi-Oh? Like, are you playing current format?
I might look at the Splight cards. That's all I'm gonna say. I might give the Splight. I read the Splight cards. I was looking like, oh, this might be a tier 0 format. I do good in tier 0 formats. I might have to pull something up. It might have to happen.
I need that. You know what I mean? I've gotten a lot of people to come back, and my mission is gonna be getting you back into the game.
If
That's
I
it.
play again, I will 100% give you credit for the person who got me to play again, because so far no one else has been able to do it. So if I play again after this podcast at any point, it's because of you. Just want you to know that.
I love that.
All right, man. Have a good one. Enjoy your dinner.
Take care,
too.
guys.
Night.
Thank you, guys.
All right,
Thank you.
All right. As I always say, do the things that make you happy. We are out of here.